So this guy goes by many names. The Visalia Ransacker, the East Area Rapist, the original Night Stalker. For decades, California was haunted by him. He wasn't just a burglar, he wasn't just a rapist, he wasn't just a killer, he was all of those things and more. From the 1970s to 1980s, he goes to people's apartment, destroy lives, and vanished without a trace. You know he was good in what he was doing. So the police gave him many names, but to history, he became one name above all, the Golden State Killer. So in 1974 in California, a woman's underwear was missing. At first, people thought he was a prankster or a thief with strange habits, just doing it for fun, until the attacks escalated. By 1976, the man moved to Sacramento. Now he wasn't just stealing, he was breaking into homes at night, waiting, and then striking. He tied up husbands, he assaulted wives, he tormented families, whispering threats, making them believe they would die before sunrise. He even stayed inside homes after the attacks, sometimes eating their food, calmly walking around as if he owned the place. What a crazy guy. More than 50 women were attacked in their own homes, and yet he always escaped, until he decided to take to the next level. He began killing, from Northern California to the south. Bodies started to appear. This time it was a lot. The fear was overwhelming, and so in California, people started buying guard dogs for security reasons and shotguns. You know nobody wants to die. Some even moved away, but still, he struck again, and again, and again, but the cops couldn't find him, so for decades the case went cold. Police had DNA from crime scenes, but no match. They investigated and interviewed a lot of suspects, but they couldn't find him. I guess he was good. So as time passed, survivors grew older, families of victims lost hope. It seemed the Golden State Killer had vanished forever, but in 2018, everything changed. Detectives tried something new called genetic genealogy, the same tool ordinary people use to trace family history. They uploaded his DNA into an online genealogy site, and then the tree began to grow. Distant cousins appeared, family branches linked together, until finally, one name rose to the top, Joseph James DeAngelo. A former police officer, living quietly in a Sacramento suburb. Detectives followed him. They collected his discarded DNA from his trash. When the lab results came back, it perfectly matched the criminal description. The Golden State Killer had finally been unmasked, said by the detective. After more than 40 years of fear, now the hunt will be over. And so bam, Joseph was arrested. But when Joseph James DeAngelo appeared in court, he didn't look like the monster from the 1970s. He was an old man sitting in a wheelchair, dressed not in the uniform of a police officer, but in the bright orange of a prison jumpsuit. The same man who once terrified California suburbs like a predator was now trembling in silence, too weak to stand. His voice was barely more than a whisper. He admitted to 13 murders. He admitted to dozens of rapes and to countless burglaries. But the truth is, those numbers don't capture the terror. They don't capture the way the whole neighborhoods lived in fear, or the way families locked every window, every door, and still wondered if they'd be next. In the courtroom, survivors and families of victims filled the seats. Some were children back when their parents were murdered. Some were women who had lived for 40 years with memories they never wanted to remember. Now they sat only feet away from the man who had stolen so much from them. There were tears, there was anger, and there was silence. The heavy silence of people finally staring at the face of their nightmares. One by one, survivors stood and spoke. A woman described how she was tied up in her own home, while her children slept in the next room. Another described years of therapy, of broken marriages, of fear that never went away. One man, whose wife was murdered, told DeAngelo, "You destroyed my family, but today we take our lives back." Every testimony was a wound reopened, but it was also a way to finally heal. And DeAngelo, he sat motionless. No tears, no words of apology that mattered. The same coldness that once let him stalk the night was still there, even in old age. Yet in that courtroom, something remarkable happened. For decades he had been a shadow, a faceless terror, but now he is stripped of power and mystery. He was nothing more than an old man, cornered and defeated, and for the families, that was the beginning of justice. Joseph James DeAngelo was sentenced to life in prison without parole. No chance of freedom, no chance to ever hurt anyone again. He will die in a cell. And though that may not erase the pains the victim felt, but at least they're safe now and can sleep freely with their windows open. The state of California was now in peaceful area, but some was always on guard, putting CCTV everywhere because they didn't want to take chances. Some victims kept on saying Joseph James DeAngelo did all this because he believed he had beaten time. He believed the world had forgotten, but the world didn't forget, just that time was just on his side. And in the end of his time he was caught. And everyone was shocked, not because he was caught, but because he was once an officer of the law, who promised to protect the civilians but ended up killing. Never judge a book by its cover, and always put CCTV camera in your homes and report to the police if you see something strange. Let's go back to James. His family members said Joseph was not like this. He was a good man with integrity, but everything started when he lost his wife and kids. So maybe that was one of the reasons why he started killing families. So please guys, never let your situation change who you are, and always stay positive. This is Joseph James DeAngelo real life photo. Subscribe to my page for more videos like this.